What if the Dark Lord won and he ruled the world for 1,000 years? And what if you are a university professor that makes a living teaching high fantasy literature writing courses and you set out to write a trilogy? Would it work? Would it fulfill everyone's desires? Would you succeed? I'm talking about the Mistborn Trilogy by Brandon Sanderson. And welcome again to another episode of Amazing Worlds. Like I said, here I've got the Mistborn Trilogy by Brandon Sanderson. It's made up of 3 books: The Final Empire, The Well of Ascension, and The Hero of the Ages. This is a sort of very nice slipcase paperback edition that I got at a pretty good price. And I'm going to talk about the superficial things first, then I'm going to talk about writing styles, characters, magic system, and then I'm going to talk about my main issues. There's going to be some spoilers, but I will let you know when, if you want to stop watching there and then skip to the end. But to begin with, as I said, sort of fairly nice slipcase edition. To begin with, it's got everything I ask for in a fantasy, sorry, just putting the books away, in a fantasy trilogy. So I've got my overarching title, the Mistborn Trilogy. Each book's got its own title, and inside we've got little maps of the world and the city where the main action takes place. And I have to say I was a little bit underwhelmed by the covers. They look sort of fairly minimalistic. I'm used to a lot more detail and colour in my literature, in my fantasy literature, but you know, what can I say? And being a bit mean, with the last book, the cover looks a little bit like one of those paint filters where you upload a photo of someone, click a button and it makes it look like it's been drawn in pencil. I know it's really rich coming from me because I cannot draw a circle with a compass to be criticizing artwork, but you know, that's my opinion, and you know, more than happy for you to disagree and tell me how wrong I am. And basically the premise of the books is, as I said, the Dark Lord won sort of the last battle, and he ruled for 1,000 years, where most of the population has been enslaved and their spirit has been crushed, and every rebellion they've ever attempted has been crushed, and everything is working in a status quo system. And someone rises up to overthrow this Dark Lord. So it runs very counter to every sort of fantasy trope, where there is a fight between good and evil for supremacy. Here we start with evil is already in power, and someone is trying to race against it. In terms of writing style, I found the writing quite easy to read. In fact, I actually read the books back to back, which is very rare for me. Sometimes I will read book 1 and I will read something else to cleanse my mind, and I'll read book 2 and I will read some sort of more normal literature and go back and read the final book. Here I read them over the summer, one after the others. So that tells you how easy it is to enjoy the books and follow the plot and the story. In terms of characters, they're okay. The main character in the first part of the first book, or in the first book, it's alright. It's just kind of your superhero sort of power charge type, and then in books 2 and 3 the focus moves to another 2 characters, and again, kind of, it's a bit of a cliche. Someone from a humble origin that comes into, you know, great powers and use of magic and fights evil. It's a bit cliched. And then there are some secondary characters which I felt were a little bit underdeveloped, and some of the supporting cast in the books to me felt sort of forgettable and interchangeable, and they lacked some characterization there. But again, you could think I'm totally wrong, and that's fine. Leave your comments if you want. Let me know. We can discuss. One of the big things about Mistborn is the magic system. It runs very much against your sort of traditional, spells. I'm gonna cast this spell and it does this, and everything is fine and everyone understands it. The magic system is sort of kind of convoluted in a way. There is a lot of very clear exposition in the book. There are literally parts where you're reading book one and there's pages and pages of sort of exposition and having to explain how the magic system works. So there's quite a bit to come to terms with, which I think sort of fails the narrative of the book and sort of holds back a little bit. There's a nice sort of handy appendix at the back, but I wish it could have been done a bit more naturally rather than a blatant exposition of magic system. A lot of praise has been given to Brandon Sanderson for this magic system. Maybe my problem is that the Mistborn Trilogy and Brandon Sanderson was so sold to me as it's the greatest thing in fantasy literature since Tolkien almost, that my expectations probably were quite high, and I think I've been a little bit disappointed. Magic system in the end is kind of wizards on speed. They just take drugs and that sort of enhances their natural abilities. So there's basically different metals that they can take into their body, and each metal enhances strength or perception, different senses. So they're in the middle of a fight, they take a shot of iron and they become stronger until the iron runs off, and then they take another shot, and it's not that creative when you stop to think about it. It's just basically wizards on steroids, and I don't know, I felt a bit let down with that. Then in terms of world development, I have to say it wasn't great either. I mean, there's a world setting, and I think Sanderson was trying to convey this world where evil rules and people are oppressed and so on, but I don't think it generated the empathy for the platitude of the common people that it was meant to do. For me at least, I didn't feel it that way, and it's meant to be an oppressive dark world where ash is constantly falling and crops are failing, but again I think it fails because all it's limited to is describing ash falls from the sky, and it just kind of repeats that. But I found that the book really didn't transmit on me that emotion of empathy for the common people, like I said, and the sense of oppression of living in a dark, evil, twisted world. But as I said, it is very readable. It was very enjoyable. And now I'm really going to start spoiling things of the plot. So if you want to stop watching, stop now. If you want to continue. That's great. My main thing working against the book or the series is the plot points that go nowhere. So basically, this group of people, they get together and they decide they want to overthrow this evil lord. Okay? So literally, they all sit together in a room with a blackboard and divvy up the tasks. So you're going to raise an army, and they write in the blackboard, raise an army, and you're going to spread misinformation, and they write on the board, misinformation, and you are going to infiltrate the politics, and they write in the blackboard, infiltrate politics. It's like really kind of, I don't know what to call it, lame, cheesy. It's kind of really not epic at all. And then we spent about 250 pages of book one trying to raise this army of the oppressed that is going to overthrow the Dark Lord, and then some guy that has got nothing to... I don't think he even spoke a single sentence, a single line of a speech in the whole book. Of his own volition, decides to take this army, attack some town, fails miserably, and the whole army that they've been raising for 300 pages gets destroyed. And that's it. And it doesn't matter, and it's got no relevance to the whole story or the plot altogether. Why? Why do we do that? And then the main character in the first book, this guy who is so powerful, can do everything by himself. So we've got all these people trying to, as I said, create misinformation and sort of, rise and rouse the people against the Dark Lord. And then by himself he goes away into these mines where they mine this weird metal that is the base of the whole economy in which the world operates. And this guy, one guy, by himself destroys all these mines, and he himself on his own creates and wreaks havoc in the whole empire. So why do we need all these other characters doing all the different jobs? So it's kind of trying to do something, but I felt cheated. That I've been reading this book and trying to buy into this plot and this conspiracy theory for 400 pages, and then in one single stroke one guy achieves everything all by himself. Kind of felt cheated. I've been taken for a ride here. This wasn't really what I signed up for or what I was sold. But as I said, the book is readable. Another gripe I found was with the magic system. It's clearly very well thought out, and clearly it is well developed, and that's what it says, and it's a very sort of rigid magic system. Is what Sanderson himself in his lectures, in his writing course, which I will put a link in the description, is what he calls a hard magic system. So you do this, this happens, and it's got these limitations, and you cannot break away from this framework that he set up. But yet, time and time again, our lead character is so powerful that she can do things that no one else can do. Why? Because she's the lead character. Because she can. Because the plot demands her to be stronger. Because otherwise, how is she going to overcome evil? And again, having seen all his lectures online, and having seen what he preaches, and then having seen him fail to deliver this in his book, I felt like, okay, not so great then. Then again, I've been told that, apparently the Mistborn series was the first book that Sanderson started writing, and that he got better over time. So maybe I'll give the Stormlight Archive a chance, but as it stands at the moment, did I enjoy the Mistborn series? Yeah, I did. Was it okay? Yeah, it was okay. Was it good? Possibly it was good, yeah. Was it great? Was it amazing? Was everything I was led to believe? No, I can confidently say that is not as great as I was led to believe. But I'm willing to give him a chance, and apparently his writing has developed over the years, and come on, he was called in to finish one of the biggest fantasy series of all time, The Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan. Sanderson wrote the last 3 books of that with the help of Robert Jordan's wife and the notes that Jordan left behind. So clearly there must be something to him that is better than Mistborn. I don't know, maybe one of his standalone novels could give me a better insight into his world creation and his writing, so let me know, leave a comment below. And that's pretty much my take on the Mistborn series. I'm glad I read it. I don't regret it. It wasn't a waste of time. It was certainly enjoyable. But yeah, to me it failed to deliver, and I think I've read better fantasy books so far this year. Gonna take a pause now, gather my thoughts, check my notes, because I actually made notes about what I wanted to say, see if I left anything behind, and I will come back in a second. Thank you. Oh yeah, there was something else I wanted to mention that I forgot. It's a good thing I've got my notes there. So, the structure of the book, the way it's written, it follows 2-3 main characters' points of view, which I'm grateful for. It sort of changes it up a bit and keeps it interesting seeing things from different characters' perspectives. And each chapter begins with the extracts of the diaries of the Dark Lord before he became the Dark Lord, sort of on his journey towards his quest for power. And that's sort of mirrored in the titles of the 3 books, and we have a hint of some sort of circular history where the final empire sort of resembles the current situation in the world right now, and then the Well of Ascension is where the Dark Lord got all his powers, and the Hero of the Ages is a prophecy that existed about someone who will rise and save the world, etc., etc. So we have this sort of recurring theme. This is history going to repeat itself, sort of mystery going in the books, and there's a twist to it that I won't spoil. I won't go that far, but that was interesting to follow, except for maybe it was a little bit convoluted. Not convoluted, but maybe too unexpected at the end to be really effective and to be really shocking. Yeah, and in terms of the magic system, apart from the from the wizards on steroids taking metals, there's 2 other types of magic, all related to metals. So there's one where the wizards, or the magic users, so to speak, instead of ingesting metals to enhance their capabilities, use metals to store those capabilities. So say, in the first magic system you took iron to be physically stronger. With this sort of alternative magic system, you would give up your own strength temporarily and become weak and feeble, and store it in some sort of iron bracelet or a earring or something like that you could call upon in the future to temporarily enhance your physical strength. So interesting all around the theme of metals, and that's how they interact with the body. And then there is a third magic system, chiefly used by sort of the Dark Lord and his minions, which is based on blood and metals. So by introducing in the body metal spikes that have gone through someone else's body first. So it's a bit gruesome, but basically you sort of drive them through someone's body so they collect the blood, and depending on whether the spike is made of iron or pewter or some other metal, it will give you that sort of physical enhancement that I described earlier, associated with different metals. And apparently, from what I've been reading, in the next 2 or 3 series that Sanderson has got planned, also based around this Mistborn world, then you get characters that can dip into 2 or 3 of the different magic systems, whereas in Mistborn you are either a sort of a metal taker or a metal storer, or you go through the blood system. In terms of, and finally my last thought, in terms of the world creation and the different countries, and it all seemed very samey. It really didn't matter where you came from. There's not a great deal of getting a sense of you are traveling or covering an immense world with all these different races and creatures. I mean, there's a couple there, but basically what he calls the Colossus are just trolls, so to speak. and there are some shapeshifters, but you know, doppelgangers for those of you who have played Dungeons and Dragons. There's nothing overly creative there. There's no a vast array of different creatures or monsters. It is very contained. It's very limited. And again, sort of harking back to Sanderson's lectures on world creation, where he talks about the iceberg theory, which I recommend you watch. It's quite interesting if you're geeky and interested in fantasy literature. I think that his iceberg in this case is quite small, and even though you only see 20% of everything that he's meant to have created, and it's only hinted at in the books, the iceberg is not very big, to continue with the metaphor. I think the world creation is quite limited. There's not even a hint of different languages or anything like that. So again, and just to summarize, I think I went with my expectations really high, probably my mistake, and the books failed to deliver, but enjoyable. Would I recommend it to people? Maybe if you've already read other fantasy series. I wouldn't recommend it as a starting point, because there's better stuff out there that will get you hooked into it. So anyway, that's what I had to say about the Mistborn series, and I'm hoping to be back next week with exploring another trilogy, this case by Robin Hobb. So thank you for watching. Thank you for exploring the amazing Mistborn world with me, and see you soon. Take care. Bye.